Hello and welcome everybody. I am Dr. Asavri Sawant, Senior Sub-Editor at Elets Technomedia, India's leading and largest B2B multimedia platform. And on behalf of Elets Technomedia and the Banking and Finance Post magazine, I extend a warm welcome to all of you for the launch of an exciting new series, the Elets Fintech Dialogues, which is in collaboration with the Department of Electronics, IT, Biotechnology and Science and Technology from Government of Karnataka. This exclusive series is an integral part of the World Fintech Summit, which is a 2 day premier event by Elets Technomedia that brings together the global fintech and BFSI community. The Elets Fintech Dialogues. This series is celebrating the trailblazing leaders and innovators whose fintech driven initiatives are transforming lives and industries. Today, we are privileged to host an inspiring entrepreneur who has been instrumental in revolutionizing the BFSI industry in India. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome Mr. Sandil Srinivasan, founder and CTO of DataNimbus. So thank you so much for joining us. We are so glad to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Mr. Srinivasan is a seasoned technologist and entrepreneur with deep expertise in building advanced data, middleware, and payment systems. With over 2 decades of experience, he has worked with the global financial giants like Goldman Sachs, ING Bank, where he contributed to critical projects including SEPA compliance and large scale payment infrastructure. His tenure at TIBCO helped shape his vision for distributed systems and payment automation, leading him to co found Capot Software in 2014, which was later acquired by Persistent Systems in 2020. Mr. Srinivasan then led Apven and DataNimbus as CEO before fully focusing on product development and technology innovation at DataNimbus, where he serves as CTO and board member. At DataNimbus, he spearheads the development and next generation payment and automation software, enabling enterprises to build scalable data lakes and ML ops pipelines. The platform seamlessly integrates with Databricks components like Spark, Unity Catalog, and ML ops to enhance AI driven financial operations. A passionate fintech and AI enthusiast, Mr. Srinivasan is committed to driving digital transformation in the financial industry, helping businesses leverage AI, automation, and data driven decision making to optimize workflow and scale efficiency. So, thank you once again for joining us for this special episode of the Elets Fintech Dialogues. It is truly an honor to have you with us today. Now, let us begin with our conversation. So, as you have an extensive career in the technology, working with major financial institutions, what inspired you to transition from these roles to entrepreneurship? And how has that journey shaped the vision for Data Nimbus? Over to you.
Oh, this was really fascinating. Back in 2014, we were at the cusp of a really big transformation that happened in the industry, where you had the birth of all these aggregators like Swiggy, Zomato, Uber, of course, Ola, and then we had the entire digital economy grow. The speed at which the world of commerce has grown did not really align with the speed at which financial institutions could offer the ability to move money in such an economy really, really well. And we really looked at what are the gaps in the industry, what are the gaps in the market. And it turns out that banks, historically, while they have solved a lot of the automation problems really well for the retail people, Amjanta like you and I, they've not really been able to solve that well historically for the world of commerce or for the large corporates. And we realized that's a space where we can operate in. So we figured out how can we automate all of that and how can we get all of these diverse application systems to talk to each other and basically build new payment journeys that businesses can also start capitalizing on. And I think that was the birth of what we tried to do in the early days, and we've been massively successful with that. I think today, from a data nimbus standpoint, we work with the top 9 out of the top 10 banks in the country, and we work with a bunch of global banks in Asia, in Europe, in the Middle East as well. And we're starting to now diversify and grow bigger in North America. So it's been an amazing journey, and I think we were definitely at the right time in the right place and in doing all of that.
So thank you so much for sharing that, and that you mentioned that there was this big gap that you could identify and then work towards it. So this is a very a pertinent learning aspect for all our budding entrepreneurs that are watching this show, watching you is first to find out the core problem area or the gap, and then devise a solution to fulfill that space. So while you identified this gap in which data nimbus shine out, are there any other gaps as well at that time or in today's time that you can recall that still need certain kind of interventions in the fintech space? Or up to you, your thoughts on this.
Yeah, though, there are always gaps. I think as technology evolves, so do the needs of the business, and it's always business pushing technology as much as technology pushing business in our experience. Back in the day, the fundamental problem in the industry was the lack of integration between systems. So you would have a customer do a transaction, but the reporting of that transaction, the analysis of that fraud would not happen in real time and would happen later. And that happens in a separate systems and they don't talk to each other, right? This was really the problem about 15 years back when we seeded the idea of how we can stitch all of that together. And as we brought all of these systems together, we also brought the data together, and that created a whole different opportunity for us to apply analysis on it and start making some outcomes and predictions on how we want to use that. So that was the core problem we solved. And throughout the journey, one of the most important things that happened, especially in India and the world of commerce, is when you traditionally used to order a sandwich, you'd call up a restaurant and then you'd place an order, and the restaurant delivery guy would come and place it to you, and that's it. But today you're ordering a sandwich on a faceless app like Swiggy, and then the money you pay to Swiggy, you actually have to ensure that it is safely and securely distributed to everyone involved: the restaurant, the guy who delivers it at your doorstep, and Swiggy itself. So that is no longer a simple movement of money from point A to point B, but it goes through a lot of uh, loops and lot of hoops, and it also goes through a lot of compliances, because end of the day, this money is governed, by third party in a special account that the RBI, kind of mandates. So it's become way more complex and under the hoods, but it's become amazing for us because we get our groceries in like 3 or 4 minutes now, as opposed to what it was 10 years back. And I think that was a problem. Banks were historically never prepared to be able to offer this capability and move money at scale. We built the banking technology for branches and for people to walk into branches. We never built it for this kind of volume and scale. That's really the core of the problem that we're solving.
Thank you so much, sir, for highlighting that, and also on the way you were able to, pointed out that what differentiates Data Nimbus from other, fintech companies in this space. So, as the world is increasingly adopting AI, and fintech space not being exclusive to that, what are the projections do you have, or do you feel would be in the coming, let's not say 5 years, let's say just coming 2 years, because I feel that that with the rapid advancements that we are seeing in even less than a year's time, in 2 years we would be very far ahead. So particularly for the fintech space and also for data nimbus, what kind of advancements can you foresee in the next 2 or 5 years?
Oh, this is not a single day goes by without me thinking about or talking about AI today. And it's very interesting the timing of our chat. I was just talking to a developer, an engineer on the floor that we hired during COVID. And when she first joined the company, she solved a problem with the limited technology that was available in 2020 with about 61% accuracy. And today she ran new test results with 100% accuracy on reading of the data. So that is a direct indication of how advanced technology has become today. Um, I think for us, our focus is on securing payment transactions, increasing the safety of the money, and fundamentally being able to do this at scale so that we can offer this trust in the world of commerce very, very cheap so cheap that it becomes a no-brainer to bring it into the transaction. To do that, you really need to optimize costs, and that is really where we're starting to unlock the power of AI. The best example I'll give you is smaller organizations, right? The SME, MSME world. They do not have the same kind of cash flow predictability. They don't have the same kind of liquid cash that large organizations have historically had. And they don't always easily secure loans against open invoices that their customers pay them. And that's one of the biggest problems today in the MSME world, the lack of working capital and the lack of timely working capital. It's a direct result of not being able to predict when there's going to be a surplus or when there's going to be a shortfall. And if we solve that problem, the amount of innovation that will come out of emerging markets like India is immense, because it will take the stress away from the entrepreneurs who spend a lot of time today trying to figure out where the next salary comes from. AI can solve that. AI can truly look at all of the payables, receivables, and reconcile them and forecast and say, on this day, this is the amount of money you need. And today, we don't have that kind of credit worthiness in the MSME, SME world that we can truly trust. And that will change. So these are the kind of initiatives where we see we will not make a small linear incremental shift, but a massive tectonic shift that will drive growth, in the world of commerce.
Thank you so much. So, sir, moving on, you also, mentioned that while these technology earlier banks, they were, made for people to visit the banks, the branches, and then, help them with their solutions rather than, working remotely, what the, model is now. So, apart from this, which is a very universal challenge for all banks all across the world, what unique challenges and opportunities do you see in the Indian banking market or the Indian banking, consumer community from the industry community, and the challenges and opportunities that you see both?
Yeah, UPI, right, is one of the shining examples of how we as a country were able to drive adoption. We've truly created an amazing ecosystem with UPI that's put India on the world map of payments as a leader. And that was only possible because of a bunch of factors. Technology, of course, is key, but a regulator that is able to balance both innovation, being brave with new ideas, as well as protecting the interests of the consumers. So, for us, the biggest challenge operating in the Indian market has always been scale, complexity, and the regulatory requirements, and balancing all of these out together. And the reason we've been able to successfully do that so far is, of course, when we've engineered the technology, we've engineered it with the mentality that we can easily adapt to change. But we've also put the right people in all those teams that work closely with all of these participants who influence how you're going to build the system, but also how you're going to operate it, how you're going to comply with regulations. And we've kind of got consensus at a very early stage to drive the vision of whatever we do. And that has been instrumental in what we achieve. Basically, we kind of make sure that we drive and we juggle both. We drive the innovation, but we also make sure that we comply with all the regulatory aspects that we need.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So, one of the things that you were sharing was, your plan for the next 2 or 5 years is to, work more towards data security, having that really solid and continuing that, building on that. So, apart from data security, fraud detection, which takes up a big chunk when we're talking about any organization that is active into fintech space or financial space, um, how does the ongoing changes in the regulations, and policy perspectives that are that keep coming in this sector, affect the growth of the organization or the trajectory and the plan of the organization, and what are your experiences in the same? Because recently we've had a lot of changes in the policy around fraud detection, data security, etc. And while those are very necessary, changes that were made by the government, how does this affect the, future projections or the pathway that entrepreneurs follow, and what are your experiences in the same?
Yeah, security and convenience always have always in any industry, whether you deal with walking into a hotel or whether you deal with moving money, you have to always balance trade-off between convenience and security, and it's no different for our industry as well. For us, we actually see these regulatory compliances as an opportunity for us to grow more than a threat, because the regulatory compliances exist for a very good reason. The best example I'll give you is if you and I top up 100 rupees each into a wallet, like a Paytm wallet, for example, or any wallet. We are actually debiting our account for 100 rupees and crediting it into a quote unquote wallet that we may use later. But the money is available to whoever's operating that wallet. Theoretically, it actually isn't really available. There are regulations that ensure that the money is protected so that when we do our transaction, it's available. So these regulations actually, they we welcome that. Even the data security and the data privacy laws, they create a need for more sophisticated technology, for better masking of confidential information, for a lot of other things that actually require us and force us to upgrade our technology. And for that, that is an opportunity to grow. That is a natural consequence of how we would want to do that. The challenge has never been the regulation. The challenge has always been the timely compliance with the regulation, and that's where we're starting to make more investments in achieving that.
So on the same note, but going a little deeper. So regulatory, on the same note of regulatory compliance, how does DataNimbus help organizations navigate complex regulatory landscapes while also maintaining agility? So we would love to know your thoughts on the same.
One of the things that we've done right as a company with our technology primarily is we've made it simple and easy for the bank, basically for the financial institution, to configure some of these regulatory requirements. So every time there's a need to monitor a certain account and make sure there's a certain amount of funds in it, or move a portion of that account to another place, or generate a report that needs to be sent to RBI, these things are very easy to configure within the platform. Essentially, what we've done is we've kind of tried to outthink what the future regulatory requirements will be to the best of our knowledge, and created placeholders and ways and means for the bank to achieve that. And that has actually helped reduce the cost of the compliance, but also increase the time that it takes to rather reduce the time that it takes to comply with the regulation.
Thank you so much, sir. So, as DataNimbus integrates with Databricks and provides advanced ML ops and data governance solutions, can you also please share your thoughts on how these kind of integrations enhance the performance of your business, and for different businesses in the fintech space as well, and also touch upon the scalability of this? Are there any particular partnerships or collaborations that you're looking forward to or that are underway? And we would love to know on those.
Yeah, Databricks has emerged as almost a de facto standard for a lot of the data lakehouse as well as the AI/ML platform build that has happened across most of the world's large organizations. And Databricks has emerged as a true leader in this space. And we're very excited about our partnership with them. We actually have a very strategic partnership with them that allows us to build solutions on top of the Databricks ecosystem. And this has completely revolutionized some of the things that we've done in the past. So the best example is if someone walks into a house and services the air conditioning, or does any kind of servicing. In the past, it would be a form on a tablet, and then you would punch in information: how was the experience, what did they say, etc., etc. All of that is completely gone, and that's now replaced with a transcription, basically the transcribed text out of a recording, that's now summarized using an LLM. And the next time someone shows up, you have a very, very clear summary of what happened in the past. This is completely changing how customer servicing has been done for years together. And this is not specific to one industry, this applies to every industry in the world. So the ability to create AI applications on top of Databricks, the ability to change historically complex user interfaces, historically complex journeys that involve a lot of data capture back and forth, but instead replace that with technology that collects all of that data, ingests it into a single, what we call a lake house, and then being able to summarize all of that content and present it in a very simple fashion. That is a game changer. That is creating unbelievably amount of operational efficiency and allowing us as technology teams, to really drive new ideas that the business could only dream of maybe 2 or 3 years back. So the Databricks partnership is key to achieving all of that, and we are very proud of the achievements we have so far. Even though strictly speaking, we have so much to do and a long road to go with Databricks already.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We are very excited to hear, all the advancements and developments that you have achieved at DataNimbus so far. So, before we move on to the very last segment, which would be the long visions, your thoughts, etc., we have another little segment here, which is kind of like your expert opinions and advices for three sets of viewers. So, as this dialogue fintech dialogues are a specific b2b platform, we would love to know your thoughts and your suggestions for the audience, which are one, the government leaders in this space, two, the fellow entrepreneurs from the B2B space, the companies that are working in similar sort of settings, and three, for the budding entrepreneurs who are looking at this, talk for advices and suggestions. So, for all these three, what would be your thoughts, starting from the government, policymakers that are listening to the show?
Yeah, I think if we specifically in our domain, from a functional domain standpoint, when we look at banking, financial services, we've interacted with regulators in the past, and we continue to interact with them, at multiple events in multiple forums. The regulators have actually done a very, very good job historically here, and I've noticed that in the last couple of decades that the courage and the discipline and the thought level of thought process, the IQ that goes into creating those regulations has historically been really good. That allows us to drive innovation. I think the only maybe advice that I may be able to offer is that while the regulators already do a really good job of driving the guidelines on the technology part of it, the regulations are still predominantly discussed in a banking forum, and I think having more fintech, and there's a phrase we start to use, bank tech. Bank techs are basically software companies that provide software to bank. Having them party to some of the discussions on how to drive innovation will really add a different perspective that doesn't happen today. But the regulators already do a fantastic job. I've seen that firsthand with how commerce has grown here, and UPI is testimony to all of that as well. I think the ones that really probably require more advice, especially in the current economy that is kind of seeing a bit of a stress overall from an entrepreneurship standpoint, right? For the real budding entrepreneurs and for the people running businesses. In my experience so far, we've probably locked in on three things that are non-negotiables for us, and if we get those three things right, usually the other things kind of flow in. The first is the team, a team that is obsessed with solving problems faster, better, cheaper than anyone else. If you have the team that struggles to wrap up their day because they've not been able to solve the problem, and they really pour their heart and soul into it, and they want to do it faster, better, cheaper than anyone else, then whatever the problem may be, from technology to hiring to fundraising, if you have that team with that mentality, you more often than not you win. The second is resilience. There's always going to be ups and downs, and I think COVID was this example of a big situation that everyone had to grapple with. It's easy to find ways to pick up yourselves when things are going right, but it's not easy to do that when things are going wrong. So being able to have resilience, being tough, being able to deal with bad days, rather than creating a negative environment, looking at it positively, knowing that it will truly end, and believing in yourself. That resilience is very, very important in every entrepreneur who not only has to put that resilience in themselves, but project it to the rest of the team, tens or hundreds of people. And lastly, discipline. I think there are some non-negotiables when you do business in any industry or any country. You can't afford not to pay salaries. You can't afford not to pay rent. You can't afford not to deal with government tax compliances and all of that. And the discipline of making sure that you run your company, well governed, follow all the corporate best practices. That is really important with a high level of integrity. If you get those three things right, you will win more often than you will fail. And that is what I would advise everyone who's trying to start off on this journey.
Thank you, sir. So we come down to the end of this section. We have two more questions before we, let you go. One of being is, the way we had UPI in the banking sector, the way we have AI all across the world. According to you, what would be the next big it? I mean, what is that one thing that you can already foresee being, outshining all other things and being the, hottest trend or the most talked about thing in the coming years?
Oh, for sure, it will be on the backing of AI, right? We are only starting to explore what AI can do at scale, and I think this wave will continue. It will untangle itself in so many ways. People will see past the noise and start to really see what it can do, and that is going to happen consistently for the next decade or so. I am a firm believer of that. On top of that AI wave, we will see things, in my view, that will transform the way we deal with money. The cost of transactions will become very less. The speed of customer service, the quality of customer service will go up. And you're already seeing that today. If you want to send money cross border, it would take 2 days for the money to be received by somebody else outside of the country. And today there are fintechs that offer it to you in seconds. That is the difference between sending mom money in another country and she getting it 2 days later versus getting it right away when she's waiting for it. So these customer experiences will drastically change with AI driving higher automation, and I think we are in for a golden era of improved customer experience and definitely reduced cost of transaction and reduced cost of doing operations. And the reason that is so exciting for me is it gives everyone a cushion to drive innovation with courage. And that is the biggest takeaway for that.
Definitely, sir. Loved hearing your thoughts. Before we let you go, there's one more question. This is the most interesting aspect of the entire series, which is, the end last two, three questions. We get to know so much exclusive information that has never been revealed by these great organizations, great entrepreneurs. So, the parting question from you would be, we have this trend of having one piece of exclusive information exclusively for Fintech Dialogue series audience. So that information hasn't been revealed by the company at any platform before this, and we would love to know, what you have to share with us exclusively for our audience on this show. It could be your long-term vision, any plans that are underway. It could be any new projects that you're planning. It has to be something that hasn't been revealed at any platform before this.
Got it. Yeah, I think one of the things we can definitely reveal in today's discussion is the we've talked a lot about AI in terms of what we've done, but one of the things we can probably truly reveal in today's conversation is um, historically we have made this technology available to very large banks who in turn offer it to large corporates. So we are solving the problem for the top of the pyramid and maybe to some extent the middle of the pyramid in the world of corporates. Um, the rest of the MSME sector, the SME sector, have not yet fully been able to unlock the power of trust in commerce as easily as they would have liked to do. And one of the things that we are now doing is we are partnering with certain institutions that allow us to bring the same capabilities, to the next wave as well. And that is that is basically going to uh, reduce the cost of doing business by so much, and increase the trust in the entire ecosystem, that it'll create a completely different economy from a commerce standpoint. That's what we see. So we're starting to partner with some of these institutions that will do that, and that's on the cards for what we want to do next.
Thank you so much, sir. With that, we come down to the very interesting conversation with Mr. Sandil Srinivasan, founder and CTO of DataNimbus. Sir, thank you so much for being part of the show. We would also like to thank our audience for staying with us till the very end. If you have any questions for Mr. Srinivasan or for DataNimbus, leave them in the comments down below. We will make sure to get you your answers through him. Also, if you have suggestions on any specific topics or any organization leaders that you would like to have with us on the show, also leave those suggestions down in the comments. We would love to have them at our show, interact with you for you. With that, we sign off now. Thank you for staying with us. Stay informed with us on the latest financial technologies, and bye bye. Thank you. Sir, thank you so much. It
Thank you.
was lovely talking to you.
Thank you for having me.